Oh hello, you've caught me playing Spyro Reignited trilogy, and I've caught him with a dragon egg.
Pesky, thieving little buggers haunting every level in which they appear with their speedy getaways and their perfectly irritating taunts.
Oh, I swear, that laugh has been scientifically created in a laboratory sterilised of all happiness.
Or maybe I'm still a bit traumatised from that time I first played Spyro as a kid, and my mate told me that if I collected all the dragon eggs in the game, then Spyro would grow into an adult dragon. So I did that, and then it didn't happen.
In hindsight, I was an idiot for believing him. And it's not like I haven't made up my own little fibs in the past as well.
Like that time I told my sister if you got everyone into trance at the same time in Final Fantasy IX, that all your party members would fuse Power Rangers style into one mega trance super fighter who do 9999 damage with every hit and who was also invincible.
They'd have Vivi's eyes and Zidane's tail and Steiner's armour and Queena's tongue.
I'm getting distracted. Basically, what I'm saying is that video game misinformation can spread very quickly if it's interesting or mad enough. Tiny little lie drops leaking into the truth pool until they sort of become absorbed and accepted as fact. Penetrate the global gaming consciousness for long enough, and these little slivers of untruth solidify into urban legend, permanent pseudo-facts capable of enduring even their own disapproval.
Here are 6 such video game urban myths, none of which are true. Or are they? No, they're not.
Our first urban legend is one I believed to be true so thoroughly I even stuck it in one of these videos a while back, and it concerns the naming of my favourite series of all time, Final Fantasy. Now, the legend goes that back when the very first game in the franchise was being developed, Squaresoft, now Square Enix, was in a bad way financially. This new RPG they'd developed was seen as one last throw of the dice, their final chance to make it in the video game industry.
And so, as the story goes, they called the game Final Fantasy, believing it could very well be the final game they'd ever make.
Turns out that story's a load of chocobo poo, and that while Square wasn't doing so great at the time, that had nothing to do with the name Final Fantasy. Series creator Hironobu Sakaguchi, pictured here with a gushing fanboy, simply wanted a title that could be abbreviated to FF, because that's a pleasing sound in Japanese, and his first choice, Fighting Fantasy, was already taken.
So really, it could have been called anything beginning with F. Falling Fantasy, or Fiscal Fantasy, or Funny Fantasy.
Incidentally, I also called these videos Friday features because of the pleasing alliteration, so that makes me just like Hironobu Sakaguchi. I mean, that's a complete lie, obviously. It's because they come out on a Friday and they're list features. I'll give you a second there. I know your minds have just been blown. Next up, we've got a creepy urban legend about Fallout 3, and specifically the radio in Fallout 3, which instantly ups the fear factor because, you know, crackly radio messages are right up there with basements and children's drawings of ghosts on the list of things that are universally terrifying no matter what the context.
So the story goes, if you meet a certain set of requirements, and no one really knows what these requirements are, and then tune into a specific frequency on your Pip-Boy, you'll start to hear these weird coded messages being broadcast.
Sort of like a numbers station, you know, the bread and butter of conspiracy theorists worldwide. These numbers would reference times and dates and then be followed by messages predicting future real-life events. For instance, one of the messages predicts the death of Queen Elizabeth II in 2014.
Didn't happen.
While another apparently predicted the Deepwater Horizon oil disaster in 2010, 2 years after Fallout 3 released, and yet another, supposedly, predicts Britney will win an Oscar in 2023.
That last one had lots of people chortling away on the internet. Oh, scariest prediction out of all of them, lol. Well, you don't know, do you? She absolutely could win an Oscar in 2023. You leave Britney alone.
Entry 3 is an absolute classic urban myth and concerns an absolute classic game, Street Fighter 2. An English translation error prompted people to believe there was a special secret character in the game called Shen Long,
when really it was just a mistranslation of Shoryuken, you know, the classic uppercut punch. Definitely not a character.
This myth gained momentum when Electronic Gaming Monthly published a parody strategy guide detailing how to unlock Shenlong for April Fool's Day in 1992, a guide that was then republished as fact by a number of outlets who missed the joke, and so began the legend of Shenlong, a character who never existed, but that somehow is now beloved by Street Fighter fans worldwide, with requests to include him in subsequent Street Fighter sequels a regular occurrence.
In fact, I'm pretty sure he even has like this unofficial backstory as Ryu and Ken's old martial arts mentor now or something.
An amazing happy ending. Long live Shenlong, the character who never was. Our fourth entry is one you'll definitely have heard on the school playground if you're a similar age to me, and concerns everyone's favourite archaeologist adventurer, Lara Croft. Now, when Tomb Raider launched in 1996, it was revolutionary. 3D graphics, huge explorable areas, crafty puzzles, dinosaurs, an amazing new character who'd go on to become an undisputed video game icon.
But did you know there's a secret cheat code that lets you play as Lara in the buff?
Everyone knew someone who knew someone who knew the code. Ludicrous requirements bounced around the playground. You have to kill the T-Rex with no guns. You have to finish the game without using any med packs, and you have to run up and down the first corridor in the game 10 times and then press X, X, circle, circle, triangle, triangle, square, were 3 such theories in my school, but none of them worked because the code didn't exist.
It didn't exist then, it doesn't exist now, and I never tried to find it.
Our penultimate entry creeps me out, to be honest, and makes the hairs on the back of my neck stand up whenever I hear it, and that is the story of the Minecraft ghost. For years, players have reported sightings of an eyeless character, often spotted from a distance, who dissolves into the murk whenever you try and get close, a sort of spectre, an anti-you haunting your progress, a paranormal entity known as Herobrine.
Now, Herobrine sightings have been all over YouTube for years now, and it's reached the point where it's become more of an in-joke than an urban legend, if I'm honest, but you never know.
Something about the idea of computer code glitching, going rogue and manifesting things in-game that aren't really in-game just really creeps me out, and it's sort of fun, isn't it, to imagine there is a ghost randomly stalking Minecraft worlds, appearing for a split second before dissolving into nothingness, a flicker in the corner of your eye, something you're sure is there until you turn to face it and realise there's nothing. But you were sure for that one moment.
Things like that just really get to me. You know, it's a classic horror trick, isn't it? Obscure the background, make it ambiguous, so you're always thinking, did I just see what I thought I saw? Or was it just a figment of my imagination?
There were even patch notes at one point that included the phrase, "remove Herobrine," which was definitely Mojang just playing along, but you know, who says the developers put him there in the first place? Final entry, and it's the big one. The one for which the internet's been searching madly for over a decade. Bigfoot in Grand Theft Auto San Andreas. Now, Rockstar games are perfect for this kind of theory. They're huge open world games, they're littered with Easter eggs and nods to pop culture. Hell, Red Dead Redemption 2,
Easter egg spoilers for Red Dead 2,
has a vampire and a UFO in it, so this supernatural stuff is not uncommon. But as far as we are aware, the urban myth detailing the existence of a Sasquatch in Grand Theft Auto San Andreas is false. There is no such creature in the game. Stand down, conspiracy theorists. Take your watches off, potential hoaxers. There is no such thing.
But that hasn't stopped players trying to track down the creature. You can still find loads of photos and stories online, which are all very entertaining.
But sadly not true. There is no official Bigfoot in San Andreas. Maybe what you should be doing is looking for Grand Theft Auto 4's Ratman, a terrifying rodent-human hybrid who reportedly lurks in the sewers of Liberty City and can sometimes be heard screaming, "Get out!" if you venture down there and take a look.
Sweet dreams.
There you go then, off to bed. Don't think about Ratmen, or Bigfoots, or ghosts in the code, or prophetic radio stations, or difficult financial situations at Square in the 80s. Tuck yourself in. There's nothing under your bed. Keep your phone on, give us a like, hit the notification bell, and join us again next week for another Friday feature. Thanks for watching.
For the players.